I like the word beingness. It kind of gets to be, it's the expression of our beingness itself. Some very pure innocence beyond our egoic conditioning. And that cherishing of goodness is actually requires a training because we have so much conditioning not to see it. Not to see the goodness in ourselves and not to see the goodness in others. Robert Johnson has an interesting way of describing this. He's a noted Jungian analyst. He acknowledges how difficult it is for many of us to believe in our goodness. He says we more easily take our worst fears and thoughts to be who we are, the unacknowledged traits called our shadow. Curiously, writes Johnson, people resist the noble aspects of their shadow more strenuously than they hide the dark sides. It is more disrupting to find you have profound nobility of character than to find out you are a bum. So why is this? Why is it easier to subscribe to a limiting story of who we are than to sense that soul or beingness, that essential beingness that is intrinsically radiant, loving, awake? Why is it that we subscribe to something smaller? We might sense that it's just the familiarity, that there's something in us that would rather have ground to stand on, even if it's very hardened ground, even if it's an armored heart, than sensing this open-endedness and groundlessness of being. That there's something in us that wants to feel safe, and we're safer if we think we've already figured out all our flaws. Then we can protect ourselves. Nobody else is going to reveal it to us. We can then cover it up. We're so organized around feeling flawed and covering it and trying to compensate and trying to in some way be better, be on a self-improvement project. We wouldn't know what to do with ourselves if we really trusted what Thomas Merton calls the secret beauty. Only secret because we're just not accustomed to it. That part of us that really understands about Beatrice on the bridge, that there's something sacred when there's love. There's something sacred when we feel our belonging to the eternal. That's a realm we'd rather stay in a smaller realm. It's disorienting. So there's an active process when we include in our gaze the goodness of training ourselves to let go of this habit of self-suspicion. Just to recognize that, okay, second-guessing myself, judging myself, putting myself down, just to get it, and to intentionally look towards the goodness. What Buddha called the inner nobility of spirit. Now, the training, and this is sometimes called the loving kindness training, of looking towards the good, it's sometimes wise to start with where it's easiest. And for many of us, the easiest place is children. Because we sense innocence. There's innocence, and my sister and I were talking about this recently. It's when do we get to that point where all of a sudden that we don't detect that anymore, when the ego's solidified enough so we become suspicious, we spend more time seeing the mask of ego than that tenderness. When does that happen? At what age? For ourselves. We can hold the inner child that we perceive inside us up till it's a certain age, and then it becomes an ego we don't like. Does that make sense? We can sense it in the child, though. A friend of mine, a very dear friend in New York, just sent me a picture of her granddaughter. And her granddaughter is named after a flower, and you just saw, I just teared up when I saw it. It's just like the light of spirit was shining through her. She was just this blossoming being. So easy to see the goodness. So this friend's a grandmother, and I pulled out a few things that grandmothers had written I wanted to share with you. One writes, "My young grandson called the other day to wish me happy birthday. He asked me how old I was, and I told him 62. He was quiet for a moment, and then he asked, 'Did you start at 1?'" I didn't know if my granddaughter had learned her colors yet, so I decided to test her. I would point out something and ask what color it was. She would tell me, and always she was correct. But it was fun for me, so I continued. At last, she headed for the door, saying sagely, "Grandma, I think you should try to figure out some of these yourself." When my grandson asked me how old I was, I teasingly replied, "I'm not sure." "Look in your underwear, Grandma," he advised. "Mine says I'm 4 to 6. I also love some of these. Some children were quizzed about love, and with their descriptions of love. And one was, "When my grandmother got arthritis, she couldn't bend over and paint her toenails anymore. So my grandfather does it all the time for her, even when his hands got arthritis too." That's love. Love is when you go out to eat and give somebody most of your French fries without making them give any of yours. Love is when Mommy sees Daddy smelly and sweaty and still says he's handsomer than Robert Redford. Love is when your puppy licks your face even after you left him alone all day. I know my older sister loves me because she gives me all her old clothes and then has to go out and buy new ones. When you love somebody, your eyelashes go up and down and little stars come out of you. One more. You really shouldn't say "I love you" unless you mean it. But if you mean it, you should say it a lot. People forget, and it's good for them to get reminded. So it's a training to remember. It's a training to see that inner beauty. And it's a challenge often with ourselves, as I mentioned, and also with others, because, again, back to that survival brain, we make divisions. We look around and scan for who might be causing trouble. You know, we scan for who's letting us down. In our own families, we lock into blame. But we also have this very painful thing of tribes, and this is me and the other is different. And it's a deep habit we're not even aware of often, that we have really stopped seeing the humanity in others. And it's not, with the stereotyping, it's not our fault so much, in the sense it's just in the culture. We're breathing the air, and it's the conditioning of the culture, and yet when we catch a whiff, how toxic it is. Which leads me to maybe my last story for the evening. This was told by a Unitarian minister. It was Sunday, Christmas. Our family had spent the holidays in San Francisco with my husband's parents, but in order to be back to work, we had to drive the 400 miles home to Los Angeles on Christmas Day. So we stopped for lunch in King City, a little metropolis made of 6 gas stations, 3 diners, and it was into one that the 4 of us trooped road-weary and saddle-sore. As I sat Eric, our 1-year-old, in a high chair, I looked around the room and wondered, what am I doing in this place? The restaurant was near empty. We were the only family, and ours were the only children. Everyone else was pretty quiet, where perhaps we were all out of place on this special day. My reverie was interrupted when I heard Eric squeal with glee, "Hi there!" 2 words he thought were one. "Hi there!" He pounded his fat baby hands whack, whack on the metal high chair tray. His face was alive with excitement, eyes wide, gums bared, and a toothless grin. He wriggled and chirped and giggled, and then I saw the source of his merriment, and my eyes could not take it in all at once. A tattered rag of a coat, obviously bought by someone eons ago, dirty, greasy, worn, baggy pants, both they and the zipper at half-mast, over a spindly body, toes that poked out of would-be shoes, gums as bare as Eric's, hair uncombed, unwashed, whiskers too short to be called a beard, but way, way beyond a shadow, and a nose so varicose it looked like a map of New York. I was too far away to smell him, but I knew he smelled, and his hands were waving in the air, flapping on loose wrists. "Hi there, baby. Hi there, big boy. I see you, Buster." My husband and I exchanged a look that was a cross between "what do we do" and "poor devil." Eric continued to laugh and answer "hi there" with every call. It was echoed. I noticed waitresses' eyebrows shoot to their foreheads, and several people sitting near us out loud. This old geezer was creating a nuisance with my beautiful baby. I shoved a cracker at Eric, and he pulverized it on the tray. I whispered, "Why me?" under my breath. Our meal came, and the nuisance continued. Now the old bum was shouting from across the room, "Do you know patty cake? Atta boy. Do you know peekaboo? Hey, he knows peekaboo." Nobody thought it was cute. The guy was probably a drunk and a definite disturbance. I was embarrassed. My husband, Dennis, was humiliated. Even our 6-year-old said, "Why is that man talking so loud?" We ate in silence, except Eric, who was running through his repertoire for the admiring applause of a Skid Row bum. Finally, I had enough. I turned the high chair. Eric screamed and clamored around to face his old buddy. Now I was getting really mad. Dennis went to pay the check, imploring me, "Get Eric and meet me in the parking lot." I trundled Eric out of the high chair and looked toward the exit. The old man was poised and waiting, his chair directly between me and where I was trying to go. "Lord, just let me get out of here before he speaks to me or Eric." I headed toward the door. It soon became apparent that both the Lord and Eric had other plans. As I drew closer to the man, I turned my back, walking to sidestep him and any air he might be breathing. As I did so, Eric, all the while, with his eyes riveted to his best friend, leaned far over my arm, reaching with both arms in a baby's pick-me-up position. In a split second of balancing my baby and turning to counter his weight, I came eye to eye with the old man. Eric was lunging for him, arms spread wide. The bum's eyes both asked and implored, "Would you let me hold your baby?" There was no need for me to answer, since Eric propelled himself from my arms to the man's. Suddenly, a very old man and a very young baby were involved in a love relationship. Eric laid his tiny head upon the man's ragged shoulder. The man's eyes closed, and I saw tears hover beneath his lashes. His aged hands, full of grime and pain and hard labor, gently, so gently cradled my baby's bottom and stroked his back. I stood awestruck. The old man rocked and cradled Eric in his arms for a moment, and then his eyes opened and set squarely on mine. He said in a firm, commanding voice, "You take care of this baby." Somehow I managed, "I will," from a throat that contained a stone. He pried Eric from his chest, unwillingly, longingly, as though he were in pain. I held my arms open to receive my baby, and again the gentleman addressed me. "God bless you, ma'am. You've given me my Christmas gift." I said nothing more than a muttered thanks. With Eric back in my arms, I ran for the car. Dennis wondered why I was crying and holding Eric so tightly, and why I was saying, my God, forgive me." So we might wonder how many people in our lives each day and through the week we just don't see. It's just not our way of taking in the world that we see who's there behind our ideas, behind our projections. And what this world would be like if we made a commitment just to slow down a bit more and see who's there. See the goodness. And when we do, each time, and you know what the experience is like when you've kind of have an idea about someone, and then you begin to get to know them and feel, oh, that's not what I thought. And there's that surprise, and we become larger. We become larger every time we step out of our comfort zone and begin to engage and take more and more in our hearts, so we really realize they're all our children. Each person here is a part of my heart. We become vast. So this is the last piece then, the gaze that includes the good. And it's a life practice. And we'll practice together some. I just to say, one of my very dear friends, a teacher from Spirit Rock, James Barras, described early on, and when I was just training to be a teacher, how his practice was when he worked with anyone, to first just slow down enough to see the Buddha nature, the beauty and goodness shining through that person, and then to go ahead and work with all the conditioning and so on, but established in that recognition. What if we did that with each other? Can you imagine the freedom of our hearts? So we look towards the good, and we start where it's easiest. Sometimes we start with ourselves, with others. Practice a little bit right now, and then we'll move into the last piece of the evening, a bit of a ceremony, okay? So in this pause, letting your breath come to your heart, just to feel that you're breathing into your heart, smiling into your heart, feeling the aliveness in the heart area, including whatever mood or feelings are here in the moment. And sensing what happens when your intention is to appreciate the goodness of your own being. For some, you might reflect on attributes that you like, how kindness gets expressed, how there is care, honesty, humor, wisdom. You might also sense your aspiration or heart's intention, the decency and sincerity and goodness of your heart's longing. I think our deepest longing reveals who we are. You might look through another's eyes at someone that you trust and that you love at yourself, just to experiment a little and sense what that person's appreciating. And take a chance that it's true. Just take a chance, letting go of old habit of being suspicious. So then in a way you're looking through the eyes of the divine at your own being, giving yourself beyond the benefit of a doubt, just sensing the awareness that's in here, that which is listening, the aliveness that's here, and this heart that's tender and has the capacity to respond to life with care. Offering yourself whatever blessing you'd like in this moment, on this solstice evening. Then bringing to mind someone that's dear, someone that you care about. And letting your gaze include goodness. You might imagine that person when they're loving you. Imagine that person when they're happy. And just sense how that person's a part of your heart. Taking a moment to sense what it would be like if you let that person know your appreciation of their goodness. You might mentally whisper the person's name and whisper thank you. And then again. Imagine how that person would respond if they could just feel your appreciation. Sensing that field of oneness and tenderness and warmth become more intense and alive. Letting a few others in your life come into the field of awareness. Just seeing the goodness, the secret beauty. With each sensing how they're part of your heart, this vast heart. Letting that sense of heart widen in all directions, including all of life. So there's a chant in the Buddhist tradition, Om Mani Padme Hum. And the meaning of the chant is the jewel is in the lotus. That as we pay attention, as our gaze includes the truth of the goodness, the truth of beingness, our hearts awaken with compassion. So we're going to chant this together. Just practice chanting this a bit together. Then we're going to stop and then we're going to chant it again as part of the candle ceremony. But I want you to try it first. We're going to do it a cappella. Just to invite you to feel your heart right now. Again, the words are Om Mani Padme Hum. Feel free to join in and harmonize, like layering your voices. Let's let that sound fill the room of this heart that awakens, that's suffused with compassion. Om Mani Padme Hum. So just join in with me. Feeling your breath, feeling your body, opening your eyes as you are ready, and we're going to get set up to have our candle ceremony to really spread this light. And what we need first is we'll have Glenn come up and Melissa. We're just going to do a little bit to make sure that everything is completely safe and good. So this is really a demonstration on how we are going to pass the flame around from one to the other. The person whose candle is lit is going to stay upright. Standing up candle, upright. The person who is unlit bends over and bows to the lit one, receives the light, stays up straight. The unlit one bends over, receives the light. So always, if you are lit, don't tilt your candle. What we're going to be doing now is having those that are going to help us spread it from one to the other. And we're going to be then dimming the lights. And as we're doing this, resuming our chanting. Okay? So, beginning again. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Feel free to stand. This is a good time to stand. Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 Inhale deeply. And relaxing the breath. In the quietness, feeling free to look around and seeing the lights, the candles, sensing the hearts and spirits that fill the room. And for those that are listening or watching, feeling this field of light, sensing on this shortest day of the year, this light that is timeless within each, that we can call on, that we can express, so that we feel our shared prayer. Taking these moments first in silence to feel your own prayer for this world, for the healing, well-being of all. the sense in the silence and the stillness, the light of your own being, the truth of this inner radiance. Om Mani Padme Hum, this compassion and love that really is a field of loving presence, so that collectively we can offer our prayer to those, very particularly those in that heartbreaking grief of loss. In Newtown, feeling our hearts hold that, keep company with. To not avert our gaze and to also see this radiant, tender, loving presence that can offer company and solace in our connectedness. To sense this heart, field of heart space that includes children everywhere, that they're all our children. In the Congo, in the inner city, our own children. To sense this heart space that includes all beings, so that we sense this earth. We sense those that are struggling in different ways with hunger, with disease, those that are in places of war, those experience loss, fear, aloneness. We hold all beings in our heart, and we hold the earth, our mother, in our heart. All beings everywhere. May all beings experience the loving presence that's the very essence of what we are. Find refuge in that loving presence. May all beings touch great and natural peace. May there be peace on earth. May there be peace on earth and peace everywhere. May all beings awaken and be free. Blessings to each. I think it's the time to blow out your candles. We'll turn the lights on, and have a wonderful evening. Please stay, enjoy the refreshments, enjoy being with each other. Namaste.